What is up everyone, Parax here, and today I'm playing in the 140 on Halluf. And this is another strategy replay. I'm not really going to be commentating on like how much damage I got, how many kills, stuff like that. It's really just going to be about positioning, map awareness, and some tactics that you can use in medium tanks spawning on the west spawn of Halluf. So analyzing the team comp at the beginning, we have 6 mediums, they have 8. 3 of their mediums are tier 8s though, so they shouldn't be too big of a problem. And right off the bat, I'm gonna go straight up here to C2. Fast mediums, you can use that little shortcut that you saw. You might get spotted, but their team generally isn't in a good position to shoot at you. And this position you see me going to here is super important. You deny the other area on the other side right there to the enemies, and since you got here first, you can just keep poking out and shooting them. If they get there first, what you can do is you could take a hit from one of them if it's not too big of a gun, because then they'll pull back and then you'll get to sit out here and kind of hold this area. It's best if you have 2 people, so you can kind of trade shots. That way you'll always be like pumping out some damage. And looking at where our team is going, not sure why those tanks weren't appearing. But anyway, we got some guys that are held up on the one line because of these guys up here. Now, even though we are defending this area, they did send a lot of tanks up there, and there is that CDC that's putting shots on the guys that are on the one line. So they can't really advance, and that's pretty bad for our team, mainly because they can just drive straight across and go to A1. But us having this position, they can't really do that without paying for it. So I can't stress enough the importance of this location on Halluf, especially for your medium tanks. And you always want to focus on isolated targets like that 1390. He would have been a pretty big problem for our south and for our artillery, mainly because we only have 4 people that are defending the south flank right now, and if that 1390 would have gotten in behind them, that would have been a big problem because our guys would have been distracted and maybe their team might have pushed up. Alright, so it looks like some of our guys are making their way up to B1, A1, and that's pretty good for the progression of this flank, because once we get them up there, it's going to prevent the people around A2 from poking around. So now we're going to be a little more aggressive here, knowing that anybody at A3 isn't going to want to poke around, mainly because they're just going to get shot up by the ST1 and IS-8. And this is what I think the next step is in taking this northwest corner here. Once you kind of whittle them down a little bit, all the guys that were camping up here, you really want to push them back, get them down to B3, get them up off this hill, down off this hill rather. That way you can kind of take it and shoot down on them, and then you'll just take it slowly from there. I did see a T-62A that was out in the open. I wanted to get a few shots on him because, again, that flank kind of looking weak right now, and I felt that our team wasn't gonna lose this flank if I wasn't here shooting. So I got a few shots off on that 62A. Hopefully our guys on the other flank will be able to damage him a little more and hopefully take him out. Alright, so now that this flank is down, I have 2 options. I can go back to defend the base right now, but I feel like our team can hold it pretty well for now. And this is a little bit of a mistake here. You really don't want to do this. You want to drive down the A line, not the B line, because if they have more TDs or more people camping base, you're going to lose a lot of HP. And what I really feel that we need to do now is take out the artillery in order for us to win. I feel like the artillery is doing lots of damage to our guys over at H3, because I didn't really see him shoot over at us that often. And that usually means the artillery is either focused somewhere else or just not really paying attention. And this is another big mistake that you'll see me do here. Sure, this low is out in the open, looks like a juicy target, but the number one thing you always want to do is defend your base. And I was kind of letting that go right now in order to be greedy and damage the low. So even if something's a tempting target and it looks like you're winning, if they're in your base, that could all change in a few seconds. Alright, so now I'm going to make straight beeline back to the cap. I want to take the safest route possible, but I also want to be in position to try to shoot the E50 or Foch, considering they're like up on the ridge there. Alright, so they have 2 on base right now. The base capture is going up by 2 points, so that means there's 2 guys on there. And I see an E50M, take a shot on him, try to whittle him down for those guys that are pushing on their base. And now it's time to head back. So I know there's 2 guys on cap, the E50 and the Foch are camping base. Now that chat was last seen at D0, and that makes sense based on where I got splashed from when I was going to the cap. Alright, so the T-54 lightweight is getting some shots off, good resets there. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make sure I'm not spotted until I'm right into the base. I don't want to come straight up the 3 line because they'll be able to spot me earlier and be able to get some shots off on me as I approach. But using that boulder there and these buildings, I can just sneak up on this 140 and take him out. And really I was only spotted once I fired that first shot. Alright, so now that he's dead, I'm going to focus on this T-62A, and a fire takes him out. Alright, so I see the E50 is on 269 HP, and he's out in the open. I know I can one-shot him. I'd have to get a pretty low roll to not be able to, and he's dead. Unfortunately, the Foch does take out our ST-1, and I can do a couple of things here. I can rush straight across the field. Usually in these situations where there's no one lighting for you, you need to make it as fast as possible to get over to the enemies and take them out. And that's because you don't want them to be unlit for a really long amount of time. If they are, they have a lot of chances to move around and get to better positions, and they might get the jump on you and take you out. So I'm going to make sure I go all the way around. I think the Foch will still be camping there. He was sitting up there all game, so kind of suggests that he'll still be up there, and that's the position that I'm going to attack. Notice I don't take the same path that I did at the initial deployment of the game. I was really scared of getting spotted by the Foch and him getting a free shot on me. And the fact that I can take 2 hits from the Foch really gives an advantage to me. If I could only take 1 hit from the Foch, I would be playing this a lot more passively and trying to get him spotted without me like rushing in there straight away. And the T-28 prototype told me to camp the base. That can be effective on El Halluf, considering if they get across the field and into your cap, they could cap out before you're able to make it back to your own base. And that probably would have been the case in the T-62A if they started capping right now. I doubt I'd be able to make it back to the base in time, if not just in time. So I'm going to head straight into where this Foch was last spotted. I really don't want to give them any time to move around, so I'm just going to go straight in here. Alright, and there he is, facing away from me. He did what I was thinking he was going to do, which was perch up on that ledge and overlook the map. So the arty was last spotted at D0, so I'm using this to take cover from him. Unfortunately, he is not there anymore, and I wasn't arty safe in that position. But when you're tracking down arty, that little damage marker is a huge help to you. There's like that semicircle with the little triangle in the middle, and that tells me generally where the arty is. Lucky for me though, he gets on cap, and this is something you don't want to do ever if you're in a 1v1 situation. Getting on getting on cap just tells me exactly where you are, and there's really not much cover or any positional advantage to being on cap. Maybe he thought he could cap out since he just saw me over at his base, but the 140 is fast enough to get back and reset. Now the only problem is I'm a one-shot now, so if he manages to hit me, then that's game over. And I think that's what he really wanted to do here. However, if he was not on cap, maybe just sitting back behind cap, I would probably still come back to my base anyway, just in case the Bat Chat decided to cap, and he could have gotten a shot off me that way. Alright, so I do manage to spot him, and what I want to do here, and when you're attacking artillery in general, is you want to just weave back and forth. You know, don't make your movements too obvious, and try not to drive in a straight line because they'll generally take you out. Alright, so now that he fired, I know I can just go straight in. Artillery has a pretty long reload. And that's pretty much the game. I'm just going to troll with him a little bit here, because he's an RB player, you know, being able to one-shot people from 1,000 meters away. Pretty balanced, so I'm just going to troll with him a little bit at the end here. And what I really want to touch on in this replay was the fact of how important that C2 ridge is. You can deny the enemies the higher ground at B3, and they're really unable to shoot your guys effectively that are crossing over C1, especially if they don't have a lot of gun depression. And another thing that position offers is it doesn't necessarily deny the enemy team A1, but if they cross over to A1, they're going to be extremely punished. And you did see me make a few mistakes here. I stuck around to kill the low, and that wasn't really the best option. I mean, if they got on cap immediately after they killed the last remaining teammates that I had down there, it could have been game over simply because I was too greedy with the low. So defending your base, always super important. If you're attacking a flank and your base is falling, you need to defend the base first, because it might take you a while to kill all the enemies over there, and by the time you're done doing that, they may just be capping out and there might not be anything you can do about it. So use the damage indicator marker to figure out where you're being hit from, especially if it's from arty. Now what you can do is when you get hit from that, you can just turn your gun in the direction that the damage indicator was from. And now that Wargaming added that little like line from the gun barrel on the minimap, you can get a pretty good general direction of where the arty is. And after you know that, tell your team, tell your arty, say, hey, arty's over here, and they might just take him out. Anyways, guys, I hope you've learned a thing or two from this replay on Halluf, and as always, leave a like, subscribe. I'll see you next time.